Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're doing a review to the latest movie from Sony called Kraven the Hunter, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson. So we're going to give you our thoughts on Kraven and whether it's worth watching and how it lives up to the other Marvel movies created by Sony in the Spider-Man universe, which includes Morbius, Venom, and Madam Web. And just to note, this is going to be our spoiler review, so be prepared and ready for spoilers. So let's get going. But before we start, please like and subscribe and comment down below with your thoughts on this movie. Did you enjoy it? And is it worse than Madam Web? And we'll be answering that question at the end, I think, as well. Okay, this movie is something. It's a work of art, I'd say. It's so special. It's not. I'm lying if you didn't get that. So there are some positives with this movie, but it's more leaning towards the negative side, I'm afraid to say. So I want to start with the characters, especially with our main character, Kraven. So Kraven in this movie is basically a hero, I guess you can say, which is not he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be an anti-hero, good and bad, villain and hero. He's supposed to be a mix of both. And in this movie, he's an animal avenger, I guess you could say, which I
Yeah.
guess is not a bad thing, but it did seem weird, like how it really links. But oh well. So, my thoughts. As you might know, I absolutely loved the animated Spider-Man TV series, like, absolutely loved it. And I've done a review on it, so do check it out. But anyway, one of the characters that we see in the TV show is Kraven the Hunter and Dr. Mariah Crawford, his love interest. In the series, we get his backstory, we get to see his skills and his abilities, and we get to see him as an anti-hero whilst fighting Spider-Man and helping him as well. So we get to see both sides of Kraven. But this movie, of course, we weren't going to get the exact same thing or even anything similar because A, it's Sony, B, there's no Spider-Man. For this movie, his character is okay. Like his backstory of how he became Kraven doesn't make much sense. Like, how did the potion work? There isn't much given on that. Like it's portrayed in a way that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense if that makes sense. Sorry, that
Yeah.
was a lot of making sense, but so yeah, Kraven in this movie is not really like anything from the series. Which makes sense as, the series isn't like very comic accurate anyway. But I feel like their portrayal of Craven in the series was like much more interesting to watch. And I really liked Craven. Like after watching Craven in the series, I was like, wow, I can't wait to watch the movie. Of course, I don't know what I was thinking, but that's a different thing. But yeah, it actually made me like Craven as a character. But this movie, I don't know, it didn't. I'm sorry. I don't really care for Craven. I have to say, Aaron Taylor Johnson's portrayal of Kraven was as good as can be. So I don't want to say the blame is on him because I don't want to be rude, but this is a review, so I'm supposed to be honest. But anyway, that's a different thing. But I don't know, with a Sony made script, it's just really difficult for this character to just worked. And I don't know, I personally like when I first heard that he was cast as Kraven, I'm just still not sure if he was a perfect fit for it. Like I really don't see him as Kraven. Like after watching the series, after seeing like other like, comics and like stuff, like just seeing how Kraven is portrayed, like I don't know, but if Aaron Taylor Johnson is the person for Kraven, but hey, maybe that's just me. Okay, and then we got Rhino, and let me just say, this guy with a backpack pops up as the Rhino for like the last bit of the movie, and he absolutely looks ridiculous. It's actually funny, like he looks even worse in this movie than the Rhino did in the Amazing Spider-Man sequel movie. Like he looks
Mm.
even worse. And I guess I see his motive, but I feel like we didn't learn much about him or anything really. So he was sort of like a pointless addition. Like I don't understand the point. And then we get Nicholas, aka Craven's father. And Russell Crowe is back again in another Marvel movie, this time not playing a comedic god, but instead a father who's not a very nice man. And there's not
Mm.
much to say about him, but yeah, I guess he was an okay character. And I don't know, I when I first went into the movie, I thought like the whole point of the movie was for Kraven to get his revenge on his father, but I guess I kind of got misled somewhere. But yeah,
Mm.
again, sort of like a pointless addition. And then you got Dima, the chameleon, And again, as good as can be, I guess, for this movie. Seeing him at the end, though, changing forms is really interesting. But yeah, again, just another character in the movie just for the plot. And I guess maybe they were thinking of a future movie. Of course, it's not happening now, but maybe they were, but I don't know. And then you get Calypso as well. Didn't really learn much about her background or even see her abilities. So again, a pointless addition. And then you get this character called the Foreigner, which I thought they made up, but apparently it is a real Marvel character. And
Yeah.
let me just say, him going one, two, it was so annoying. The amount of times that one, two, like, oh my God. But yeah, another pointless addition because he died. I don't know. There's a
Mm.
lot of people dying in this movie, and it was like, what's the point? But yeah, I I don't know. It's like what is the point of bringing all these characters? Like you got the Rhino, you got the foreigner, you got Craven's father. I guess I can understand why they killed Craven's father, but it just seems like why bring all of them to just kill them? Like I don't really understand.
Mm.
I mean, not saying that I want to see them in a sequel or anything because I don't want to see a sequel, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, story-wise, I can't say a lot of bad stuff about this movie as well. It wasn't as bad as Madam Web. Sure, it still had bad dialogue and
No.
its pacing was really bad, but it was okay. Maybe a bit worse than okay, but it was worse okay. Let's put it as that. First 40 minutes of the movie was an origin story, and then the story starts with Kraven trying to get his brother back and hunt people down, and that's it, which sounds really boring, and it is. It is. Like, this movie story, it's all right. Like, I don't want to spend the next hour, talking about it, so I'll just say don't expect a lot if you haven't seen it yet and you just want to hear the spoiler review because it's you're not going to be 100% intrigued or 100% hooked throughout it. As for the pacing, I really don't understand. How can you spend 40 minutes of the movie as being the origin? Like that's such a huge chunk of the movie, which is crazy. It just goes to show you really need Spider-Man in the movie for it to work. So think back to the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin. We see the Green Goblin's and Spider-Man's origin story woven in perfectly into the story, which doesn't take away from the main story between these two characters facing off, but it adds to it and fits in really well. And this is something that Sony have just really struggled to do. The only one that they've done this really well in was Venom. But that is how an origin story should be. It shouldn't be spending 40 minutes on trying to tell us how Craven became Craven. Like it was so annoying. Like I was like, when are we gonna get to it? Okay, a positive action scene sequences and that it was rated R. So the action scenes were actually quite great. Like I really enjoyed them. And I think if anything, this movie showed that Sony are capable of making good action sequences, especially when rated R, which is what the Venom movies should have been. But hey ho, that's a different argument and debate because what's going on with Venom? Who knows? So to end, is this movie worse than Madam Web? Absolutely not. This movie isn't definitely going to be on my list of five, top 10, top 50 movies. You get what I mean? It's not going to be there. It is decent-ish, but yeah. Does it deserve a sequel? Absolutely not.
Mm.
Sony's trial of making solo movies of Spider-Man villains or supporting characters in the case of Madam Web has just shown us that it isn't possible to make a good movie without Spider-Man included in it as well. Which is a shame, and it's a missed opportunity because these movies could have been something. But it seems like hopefully Sony are learning from their mistakes. At least we hope so, because I do not want a Morbius 2 or a Kraven 2 without Spider-Man, because we need Spider-Man somehow involved. But yeah, this movie, don't expect a lot.
Yeah, definitely agree. This is sadly another disappointing Sony film, but I have to say in my opinion, I think it might be slightly better than Morbius or Madam Web in a way. I think the big issues in this film is that it's not really connected to Kraven from the comics or from the Spider-Man animated series, which I need to watch because that is probably way better than this. Um, and I feel like we didn't really emotionally connected with the main or any of the characters, and the story wasn't that great as well. It was just lame. Lame. It was just a repeated excuse over and over again. I felt like there was no charm or purpose of the film. Like there was, like Emily said, like some of the characters got killed off quite quickly, and like some important characters that they could have used more, maybe in future projects. I'm not sure. There were just plots in the stories that were just meaningless. And like Emily said, like 40 minutes of oranges. I never even knew that, but that probably explains why it was so boring in the beginning. But yeah, uh, and the main character Craven. I'm sorry, but when I was watching this film, I felt like it was more of a modern version of Tarzan, and that he doesn't even have any. And that guy doesn't even have superpowers. Craven, on the other hand, gets a totally different and lame background, like lion blood mixed with his blood, and then gets a magical potion, and then suddenly he gets superpowers. I mean, that is completely rubbish. Keep it to the comics. How hard is that? Another thing that really bugs me, but I felt like while some fighting scenes were great, I felt like how he moves on like the walls or like jumps around kind of reminds me of like Beast for the live action X-Men movie. Like the way he leaps around, I'm like, I know he's not really an animal and he's meant to have like superpowers like an animal, but like, come on, make up like he doesn't have to be fully kind of powerful like that. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just a bit weird in my eyes. Craven's father is a good villain. I mean, I wish I would see more of like his life in the mafia business because I felt like they like he's meant to be brutal or like dangerous, but I feel like we didn't see much of that in a way. I felt like we could have seen more of him like tormenting someone or doing more like criminal work. Like for example, I was thinking like when we saw like that room with all the animals' heads like that was eerie and creepy and inhuman. I feel like we should have seen like a scene when like he was actually cutting off the heads just to show his brutality and show his evilness inside. I thought that would be way more better because the film is a bit brutal as well. There's a bit of blood in it, but I feel like I'd rather see that from the villains than like Craven. The Rhino. I'm not sure how I feel about this guy because I mean I know he was a great villain in the Spider-Man comics and the show. I mean he was alright in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but to be honest, that Rhino was better than this Rhino, and the way they portrayed him in this film just feels a bit off. Again, background change. I think I'm not sure if his background was sort of similar to the ones in the comics, but I don't know. I felt like again we're missing something from this character. Like nothing, there's nothing much to know about him. And the actress, again, I felt like she wasn't that useful in the film. She was okay, but I wish we get to see more of her, like more like of her powers, like she has in the comics. And I think she was meant to be a supervillain as well in the comics. So I'm not sure if she was like if they were gonna lead her up to that or if she's just gonna be plain and nothing more. It's just I don't know. I felt like she was just a waste, not to be rude. Also, like what Emily said, the foreigner, I thought he was a made-up character, but when I did research, I thought, oh, he's an actual character. Wow. And I didn't really understand his powers. Like, not it wasn't really explained well in the film. But apparently he somehow got a hypnotic ability to make his opponents think that he's going faster than usual, but actuality he's slower and I don't know how to explain it. It's really weird, but again, they should explain that better because I felt like he's a bit of a misleading character. And then finally, there's Dimitri, who I realized midway he's a chameleon after his father called him that name. I never realized they were brothers, and they were actually brothers in the original comics, so that was pretty interesting. He's all right as well. I mean, I thought I kind of knew he was going to turn out baddish in the end, but there was something in the ending when he had that white face, and I thought, is that a mask or is that his actual face? Like, yeah, there's just so many things in this film that never got explained, and that really bugs me out. And story-wise, they there was something in the trailer that I thought was going to happen in this film because Because when Craven was being attacked by that lion, and then we there was a scene where I think his father was going to abandon him, I think, for being weak, and then Craven was going after him for revenge. I'm not sure, but this film is completely different, and I felt like they thought they missed a bullet, but they basically got shot and just died off with this story. It's just felt really pointless. There was no other connections to like the Spider universe. Like we have so many different characters from like supervillains or anti-heroes, but I felt like there was nothing that could be leading off to something better. I was thinking it was gonna be like they had something like a cliffhanger because in the end Dimitri said to Craven that he's got this new shape-shifting mask from a doctor, and the first people that came to mind was Dr. Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, because I thought, oh, maybe he's into like machinery that does that, or Dr. Octopus, or Dr. Connors, aka the Lizard. But I don't know, I thought they were gonna leave something with that, but nothing. So sadly, yeah, this is basically a pointless film. And I know that I think Sony is going to stop making Marvel films now. This is technically the last Sony Marvel film, which I think we're kind of grateful in a way because, yeah, no more to suffer from, no more wasting money on these kind of things. So I think that's good. It has a final ending. It's the last chapter now, but and now I'm hoping that Sony could maybe give some of these rights of characters to the MCU so Spider-Man can fight maybe some of them in the future. But yeah, if you think of watching this film, don't. If you think of recommending it, don't. If you think of saving it to watch in the future in case you're bored, don't. It's not. It's not worth it, guys. I'm sorry. How would I rate it? I would say 1 or 2.
Okay. I
You?
was gonna say 3
Ooh, okay.
because Madam Web is like on the 1 or 2 scale, so this has got to be a bit
Oh
more higher.
yeah. Oh yeah. I feel like this is a bit better than Manowar because, like, I don't know, I think the fighting skills were a bit better and a bit more creative and cool than Madam Web.
Yeah.
Madam Web just, yeah, didn't have much, I think. Also, I was just thinking, I know Sony was planning on doing a Sinister Six movie. If this was successful, do you think they would have continued doing it?
If this movie was successful, no, I don't think so. I think after Madam Web, I think they just knew it's
Mm.
just pointless, and I think they were like, they've spent so many years working on this movie. Like we were supposed to get this movie before Venom 3. So I think they
Oh.
were like, we'll just release it at this point. Who cares? We're gonna get a lot of hate, but let's just release it because we'll get make a little bit of money at least. I don't actually know how much money they've made, but
They probably made
it's
less than their budget.
yeah, definitely. I can imagine.
If we do see Craven again, I hope they might portray him maybe with a different actor. Like, I'm not saying this actor wasn't good. I feel like they could have used a different actor who's more of a villain type, and maybe see him in the MCU fighting Spider-Man with the actual Sinister Six. But yeah, we just have to wait and see. So, guys, that's the end of our spoiler review of Kraven the Hunter. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Before you leave, though, please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Leave a comment down below on your thoughts of the film. Did you like it, or do you really, really dislike it like we do? And do you think Kraven might return again in future Marvel projects? And do you think we still might see the Sinister Six? Tell us, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can also check out some of our other Marvel projects we've reviewed on, such as Madam Web, Spider-Man, Morbius, and Venom 3. So many guys, check them out. We also done a few Disney reviews and non-Marvel Disney reviews. We also done a few reactions, debates, games, pranks. So many guys, check them out. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can also check out our website, tells you information about the team. So yeah, that's today's review, guys, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.